Hi everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Jacqueline and I talk about learning disabilities openly on the internet, more specifically dyslexia and dyscalculia because those are the two that I have myself. And for today's video, I'm going to be discussing my very first semester of college, which sounds so weird to say, but it's officially over, which means I have a little bit of experience at college. And I'm just going to share my own journey with having learning disabilities at college, some advice, then hopefully this is helpful for you out there. If you're in college, if you're about to go to college maybe next year, or if you want to save this for later, I just hope that you can have some key takeaways at the end, and let's get into it. My very first topic today is audiobooks. I've been using audiobooks probably since middle school, so I have a lot of experience with a lot of different programs, and I'm just going to mention a couple today. But the very first one that I actually found out in college is called Speechify, and obviously this is not sponsored at all, but it is a program that I really highly do recommend, and I'll explain why. Speechify highlights the words as it reads to you, and as someone with tracking difficulties because of my dyslexia, this is huge. So there's a number of things that I really like about Speechify, but one thing I do want to mention is it was actually created by a dyslexic individual, which is super neat because he saw a lot of these deficits in other programs and then helped make one stronger for everyone, but especially dyslexics. And so there's a lot of aspects that I like about it. As I mentioned, the highlighting, reading the words along is great, but it also has numerous AI voices or human readers, and I'm very particular with who I like to listen to when I read, so those are great that there's just a huge variety of them. They have a lot of different speed adjustments as well as a feature, and the best thing, especially for a college student or someone in high school, is that it's super easy to implement any sort of web links, PDFs, Google Documents, text messages, anything you want read aloud. You can just put this into the software and it immediately can read aloud to you. So that's something that I think makes Speechify stand out than other programs. I didn't know this until last year, I think, but Spotify also has an audiobook program. But this is only the audio. It doesn't actually show you the text and read the text to you at the same time. So that's one little negative side. But I think that each Spotify plan does have the audiobooks available. If I'm wrong about that, I'm very sorry. But there are definitely some plans that have a certain amount of listening hours on Spotify, which you can get all these kinds of books for free to listen to. But the only negative side is you get listening hours per month, so if you go over the listening hours, you do have to pay for the audiobooks that you want to listen to, if that makes sense to you. And so I still think it's a great option because Spotify is so well known to everyone, so I think it's great that they now have audiobooks attached to it, as well as the music, of course. Something that you guys should all be aware of is that if you do have accommodations through your school, chances are you do have a subscription to an audiobook platform. In my case, I had something called Read Speaker, and I did not like this option at all. A huge reason why I didn't like it is because it actually read words frequently incorrectly, and as someone with dyslexia, or really anyone listening, you want to know what the word is going to say. You don't want to try to guess of what it's actually trying to say. So it was just confusing all around, and that's why I didn't like it. But the other options of Speechify and Spotify, Learning Ally is another great one if you want to look into that. All those are fabulous programs. And so I just wanted to put this in there that you should definitely ask if you want an accommodation for audiobooks to see if your institution has that available for you as a student. Once you go through the huge process with disability services of finally getting your accommodations implemented so that you do have them for whenever your school year starts, they give you something usually called it's like a disability letter, or accommodations letter is actually what it's called. And most colleges and universities do not have the case managers send them out to your professors. They just write the letter for you, and then it's up to you as a student to send them out to all of your professors. I know it sounds a little bit confusing, but trust me, it's not difficult at all once you just finally do the process once. So that's something that you can probably expect, because that does tie into self-advocacy, which you will now be thrown into a lot more because there's no one really holding your hand in college. However, I obviously do want to say that although that sounds like a really scary statement, you're going to have a lot of professors and a lot of people around you who can definitely still help you, especially a case manager. if for some reason a lot of professors, or one professor, is not actually implementing accommodations, then that's when you go to disability services or your case manager and ask them to help you out. So as I said, it's just kind of a lot of self-advocacy, which might be new to you, but you're going to be okay. Continuing on with self-advocacy, there was one time where I had an assignment that made no sense to me. I didn't even know how to get started on it, and I kind of sat around for a day or two thinking at some point it finally might make sense to me, which is not a good thought process to have at all, you know? So what I'm trying to say is, if you're confused, definitely speak up, because I waited a little bit too long and the deadline was approaching and I could not get in this assignment during that deadline. So I spoke to my professor about it and I ended up crying in front of her. She was really nice about it, but she was just kind of telling me what I instinctively knew, that if you have a difficulty, don't just sit in silence. Definitely speak up and say something, because you have a lot of people who can help you, and a professor is obviously one of those people who can help you with clarification. Every single college and or university has this, which is office hours, and these are when professors are available to speak to students about whatever they may need help with. And this is a really nice way, because it doesn't really pertain to people with disabilities, it pertains to everyone, and chances are there's a lot of people in the same boat as you if you are confused. And so you can either go with a peer or you can go by yourself and ask these types of questions of whatever it is that you're confused about, and these professors are there to help you out. So that's something that is good to know about, just to feel a little bit less alone if you are feeling like you don't understand something. If speaking in front of people is a little bit nerve-wracking to you, you can obviously send an email, but if it's something that needs more of an in-depth response, I would show up to office hours. You know, you're gonna be okay, you just have to take the first step and show up and ask for help in person. The next part I want to talk to you about is tutoring. So there's usually a lot of places on campus that you can go to get writing support, STEM support for like STEM majors or STEM classes, speaking support. At least my school has a speaking center, although I don't think that's quite well known to other college campuses, so I'm excited about that one. But the point being is that's another person that you can go to receive help, is these type of tutoring centers. If you feel stuck on how to first begin an assignment, or maybe you're in the process of having an assignment, but then you're like, I don't really know what to do next. This is also a good option if you want someone kind of more your age, rather than a professor, if they kind of scare you a little bit. They should not be scary, but you know, it's just another aspect or another point person that you can go to. The very last thing I'll be discussing today is friends and social life, because I feel like everyone is extremely nervous going to college, having this new environment, and feeling like, what if I don't make any friends? Obviously, this is my experience, but let me tell you, you're gonna be okay, and all of your worries are gonna go away pretty much in an instant once you're actually at college and you at least find one other person that you connect with. But here are some things I'll say. Orientation week is really fabulous. It's made to have easy access, a bunch of students around you doing all these fun games and activities, so I think that is I know that's where I met a lot of my close friends, and it might happen to be the place where you meet a lot of your close friends too. Then I'll say, as for dorms, that's a great place because you're already in the same vicinity as a lot of other people, so if you just chat to some people, you'll probably end up being friends with them. That definitely happened to me as well. Mutual friends is nice because you don't really have to talk a lot yourself. You kind of just meet someone through someone else, and that's already a new connection in your life. And as for when you have friends, I am not much of a partier myself, and that was kind of scary going to college because I was like, I feel like that's where a lot of people meet others, which is true. But there's a lot of fun things that you can do besides partying. I happen to do a lot of movie nights and game nights in our common lounge, so that's something to consider when you go off to college. Genuinely, I just want to say, don't worry too much, which I know that's easy to hear and then kind of just disregard it. You will find your people. It can take time, and you don't have to be besties with the very first person that you meet. You can allow yourself to just test out a lot of different people and friend groups until you feel like you found the right person or people that you really do connect with. So that's a little bit of my advice and maybe what to expect in college. And that does conclude my video, so thank you very much for watching along. I hope to see you on the next video, and have a great rest of your day. Bye everyone!